Okay, so today I am going to do for you, I'm probably going to pull together information from a few trainings that I've done. I'm not sure I've ever done it in quite this way before, but I am going to do for you an in-depth training on anxiety, panic, and fear. So I'm going to be talking to you about what they are, how we get them, where they come from, really the biology of the system behind anxiety, panic, and fear. And then I'm going to help you, once you understand that, I'm going to help you have a look at how we overcome these. So this has been very much requested by people, but also from my point of view, I get really, really annoyed when I see so many people who are just given medication, and it's clear from the questions they ask and the things they post that they do not understand the first thing about their anxiety. So they're going to see their GP or someone about anxiety, and they are given anxiety medication with no information about what the anxiety might be caused by. Some people don't even understand that it has a root cause, that it can be overcome, that this is a primal response within the body, that and there's a biological way that the body works that is actually causing this anxiety. Now, obviously, when you understand all of those things, it is much easier to deal with your anxiety and to overcome it. If you have no idea what it even is, why you have it, then of course you can't do that. So let's start at the beginning. I've got notes on the board. I haven't written up loads like I sometimes do. Haven't used a board for a while. This is just some key notes, but I'll be talking you through it. And I'll be rubbing some of this off and writing up other stuff. So just bear with me. I'm going to talk you through the whole system. So anxiety, panic, and fear. The thing you have to understand, first of all, is that all of these are related to your primal safety response system. Okay, that's what we call it. It's your primal fear system. And to understand this, I mean, oh God, the biology could be really complex. So I'm going to try and keep it as simple as I can. If you think about a smoke alarm within your home, so a smoke alarm is there to detect danger. Okay, it detects smoke and it goes off and it alerts you in plenty of time, i.e. when there is only a little bit of smoke before flames are leaping, so that you can get out, so that you can respond, you can do something. And if you think about your body's primal response system, it is very similar. Okay, it's the way that your body keeps you safe. Your body and mind work together to keep you safe. That is your mind's primary function, is safety. And we call it primal because we are ancient beings. And whilst our environment and our culture and the way we live has moved on, our systems haven't. And your primal fear system, it's activated even before birth. So it's there. It's not something that you can control. You can't turn it on or off. It's there. It operates autonomously from everything else, although they're connected, but the fear system is there to do a job. It acts before everything else and it responds to danger. Now, the problem is that we don't live in caves anymore with a saber-toothed tiger around every corner and dangerous plants and, things that can kill us scuttling around. Well, not really, not unless you're out in the bush. But, on the whole, we don't live like that. But our mind and our system are still wired as if we do. So it is very easy for the system to become out of balance and overactive. And I'll talk to you about the ways that this can happen, because the system is designed in different parts and they counter each other. And when we're under constant stress or we have constant fear, they become unbalanced. We get a chemical imbalance and things don't work as they should. And this is what triggers anxiety and fear. And I'll talk to you about some of the ways this can happen. But firstly, I'm going to talk to you about the fear system and how it works. Because when I talk to you about how it works, you will understand how you can start to get to grips with this. And at the very least, you will understand what's going on with you. And then when I start to talk to you about how these things happen, you can look at your own situation, your own life, and understand again how this process is being triggered, and start to think about how you can bring it back under control so that you don't need to be on long-term medication for anxiety. It just isn't necessary. This can be brought under control. So let's have a look. We've got two very distinct parts. We've got the brain and we've got the nervous system. And there are different parts of those that all work together as your fear system, which is why this balance is so important. There are different parts that are constantly scanning and speaking to each other at, billions of bytes a second, as it were. It's a very complex system. It's very sophisticated, and all of these things communicate and need to be in balance. So let's have a look. Firstly, the two parts of the brain that are involved are, we've got the amygdala. The names and things, they're not important to you. I'm just explaining to you how this works so you understand. You've got the amygdala and you've got the hippocampus. Now, if you can imagine, the amygdala is like your smoke system. And the amygdala in your brain is constantly scanning your environment for anything and everything that might be dangerous. Okay, so it's constantly alert to, are you safe? Is that safe? And in particular, anything new. So if you take a different route on your walk, if you do things slightly differently, your amygdala is going to be slightly activated, looking at the newness in your environment to say, is this safe? Is this safe? Now, normally in our day-to-day lives, obviously most of us are safe. We're in healthy relationships that support us. We have good transport systems. We have jobs. We have food. We have shelter. People that love us, and our amygdala is not very easily triggered. Not very often triggered. Maybe something makes us jump, and the amygdala is triggered. The amygdala is your fight or flight system. Okay, and it becomes triggered. So let's say something scares you momentarily. And what happens, you get the fight or flight response. You realize within seconds that this is nothing to actually be afraid of. And where your system has called immediately for a series of chemicals to help you deal with this, whether you have to run or whether you have to fight, you need certain strength, you need courage, you need to be in a certain frame of mind to be able to do that. So the amygdala immediately calls on the rest of your system for a series of chemicals: adrenaline, testosterone, dopamine, endorphins, cortisol. We know what these are. But if the threat isn't real, if you're not actually being attacked, if nothing's happening, the hippocampus part of the brain immediately comes in and balances. And all of the chemicals that have been released suddenly into your system, the hippocampus soaks them up and calms the system. And this is a process. It just happens. You don't know it's happening, but you can all relate to this. Where something scares you, you get that momentary rush of adrenaline, excitement, fear, and then it's gone. Okay, and that's what happens to most of us. Now, we will talk about when that doesn't happen, but for now, let's talk about the normal function. In the normal function of things, when we're safe, this is what happens. Then, to go along with that, I'm just going to rub some of this out now because I need more space. Okay. Over here, we also have, working with the brain, we have, again, as part of your fear system, so it's complex, we have your nervous system. And in your nervous system, you've got your central nervous system, which we all know about. Then you've got the part of your system that a lot of people don't know about, and this is your autonomic nervous system. Okay, and this is very much like your hippocampus and your amygdala. It works, it has certain functions that it does. It just does them automatically. You don't have to do anything. It's just functioning. And one of the things the autonomic nervous system does is to support the function of the brain, of the amygdala and the hippocampus in the fear system. Okay, so you can see it's quite complex. So what we've got here in the autonomic nervous system, we've got the sympathetic, and then we've got the perisympathetic. Again, these names don't matter to you. I'm just telling you the function so that you can understand. And just like the amygdala and the hippocampus, the sympathetic nervous system here reacts with the amygdala and it calls for flight or fight. So it's a support system. It's part of the system. The perisympathetic system, again, does the role of the hippocampus and it balances. And what we've got between these two is a constant. We call this base. So this is your normal state. This is your normal state where you're just relaxed, going about your life, going about your world. There's nothing wrong. You feel fine. This is your base. And your nervous system is constantly, like the amygdala and the hippocampus, are constantly calling for chemicals, soaking them up, calling for chemicals, soaking them up. These two are constantly working between each other, okay? And we call this pendulation. So it's like a pendulum in your system, and it's swinging from one to the other. And normally it's nice and smooth, okay? We're not normally in danger. We're not normally scared. But what happens under the effect of extreme stress, this system becomes damaged. It gets out of sync. It gets out of balance. And what happens when the sympathetic nervous system is constantly under stress, constantly in flight or fight, and calling for support for that, what happens is the perisympathetic doesn't get a chance. So let's say we're here, we swing up to here, and then it's working its way down, and it suddenly gets another call, working its way down, another call, a call, oh my goodness, we're constantly in trouble here. And what happens, the base, we've said this is your base resting point, your base resting moves up. Okay, because you're not getting a chance to reset. Suddenly, your base, it might not be up here, but it's not back down here anymore. And this is the point where you end up with constant anxiety because your resting point is no longer on your non-fear baseline. Does that make sense? So the space between these two, is always your acknowledgement of safety and is your capacity to live your life, in a safe and controlled and sensible and responsible and logical way. But when this moves up here, this is when we get anxiety and fear. Okay? So hopefully that explains it. If you have questions, I'm going through a lot of material here, and I'm probably going to lose my track anyway at some point. So I'm not going to be jumping in, saying hello, answering questions. But if you have questions, please ask them. This is a very complex topic, and I'm doing my best to put it to you in a way that you will understand what is happening with your system. Okay? And I'm bound to, say something, I might miss something, or you might not understand something. Okay? So now, if we go back to, so that was explaining about the nervous system. If we now go back to, we said this works with the amygdala and the hippocampus. So we've got the amygdala over here, and we've got the hippocampus over here. And what happens when, in the situation where I've just told you, where we've got constant stress or fear, and we'll talk about what causes that, what the causes of that are. So we've got the amygdala over here. So in a constant or a very regular stress cycle, where the hippocampus, just like I showed you the fear system, the parasympathetic doesn't get a chance to rebalance and realign. In an extreme stress situation, where the amygdala is constantly releasing cortisol, which is the main chemical it releases in response to fear, the job of the hippocampus is to soak it up. If there's too much and it's constant or it's too regular, the hippocampus can't soak it up. So we end up with too much cortisol in the system. Okay, and again, it's cortisol that creates anxiety, or cortisol is in response to the anxiety. So what happens here, the hippocampus is also susceptible to the corrosive, toxic effects of too much cortisol. So the hippocampus gets damaged and it shrinks. And obviously its ability to soak up cortisol is even further impaired. So now you've got a constant fear system that you can see is out of balance. This is creating a fear response all the time. The hippocampus is impaired and it can't respond. The amount of cortisol in the system is growing and there's nothing here to deal with it. Okay, because also what happens is as the amygdala is called on more and more and more, it grows. Okay, so these two that should be working totally in balance and in tandem, and in balance and tandem with the autonomic nervous system, everything is now out of balance. Okay, now the good thing is this can be repaired. We're going to park that now. I'm going to park that thought for a minute, but before everyone's panicking, going, oh my God, you know what happens once the hippocampus is shrunk and the amygdala is too big, and this is all part of the healing. But this is where you are at. So if you are experiencing extreme, constant anxiety, or every time you experience anxiety, even if these are individual feelings at different times, every time that happens to you, this is happening. So if it happens occasionally, it's fine. It's part of the normal process. The system copes with it. The system rebalances. If it doesn't, and you have constant anxiety or panic, this is what has happened. Yes, you have a chemical imbalance, but it has a natural reason, okay? And it can be repaired, and we will talk about that. Okay, so that's that. So what I want to talk about now, hopefully you understood that, and I'm sure hopefully you'll let me know if you don't, is what causes these anxieties. And here's what I find in the work that I do. Almost, I think I've moved my board. There we go. Almost invariably, even if a client does not realize this and does not know, I'm going to try and move, is that better? Yes, even if a client does not know, even if the symptoms don't really show up until adulthood, All anxiety has a root cause, and normally this is the culprit, your childhood. Now let me explain that to you. Sometimes we are talking about trauma and extreme and consistent anxiety, and certainly panic are trauma and abuse related usually. And it's good to know what the root cause is, because how does this manifest? And it's important as well that we talk about this word here, trauma, because trauma doesn't have a specific definition. So a trauma is anything that traumatizes you. And sometimes, and I can tell you, this is what happened to me, okay? Sometimes everyone reacts in different ways. And some people have to go through real hardship and really emotional unmet needs and things like that before they experience trauma. But for some people, it could just be, and I hate to diminish this at all, because an angry parent. So one angry parent, it may be that they had one loving parent and one angry parent. And this angry parent means that they felt, I'm just giving examples here, okay? There are so many variations on this, but this tells you how this can happen, and this gives you things that you can look at in your own life and makes it very easy. Oh God, I was talking to someone the other day and I was asking them about the root cause of their anxiety, and they said, oh, I haven't discovered that yet because I've only had 3 counseling sessions. Well, 2 minutes later, in a few sentences, we had uncovered that root cause. That root cause is not that difficult. It should not be that hard to uncover root cause. So, but let's have a look just to give you an idea, okay? So you've got an angry parent, you've got a loving parent. From the angry parent, you felt unloved. Everything you did was wrong. You couldn't do anything right. So what does this lead to? This leads to an overwhelming feeling that you are not enough. You are unlovable. You are incapable. You make lots of mistakes. You can't be trusted. We could write down so many things here. I'm just giving you these off the top of my head and coming up with things that I explore when I'm with clients, the things we find. So if in your childhood, this is how you are made to feel, that is the blueprint. This is your blueprint. This is how you see yourself. This is how you go through your life thinking about yourself. So it might not come out till later on, but maybe let's say when you go to work and you are in a responsible job and your subconscious thought is all of these, how certain and secure and self-confident are you going to feel? You're not. And even if this doesn't show up straight away, let's say you make a mistake, or you're not sure about something, or someone says something and you get upset, or you don't understand something, this all activates, okay? And what happens is you start to feed these thoughts. Remember, your mind reacts to the words and images that you feed it. And suddenly, here you are, you're in a situation where something in your blueprint has been triggered, and this starts a loop. So there you are, that you're at home and you're thinking, oh my God, I've got to go to work tomorrow. Oh, she's going to say that to me, and that person's going to do that, and I don't know how to do this, and I don't know how to do that. And what are you activating? You are activating your fear system. Okay, because your fear system is designed to take you away from pain towards pleasure. That's another one of the rules of your mind. So your fear system is alerting you to the danger, because the danger is to your emotional well-being. It isn't just about your physical well-being. There is danger there to your emotional well-being. The irony of this, of course, is that this is being created, and that if you could only think about it a different way, it wouldn't happen. But that can't happen. You can't blame yourself. This is your blueprint. This is who you think you are. And we cannot, you have to remember that this, what's this? This is an emotional response. And we cannot override emotion with logic. So you might be aware that you're thinking this about yourself, but you're probably not aware of why. You're certainly not aware of how to stop it. And you don't know that you are creating this catch-22 for yourself, where you are causing your fear system to be overactive. Now, that is just one example. There are many ways that this can happen. But the fact is that it will always, this is always the process, and it's your fear system will react to, this is important to remember, it will react to threats to your emotional or physical safety that are real or perceived. And very often these perceived threats will depend very much on your blueprint. You'll have someone else who has a different blueprint, who goes into the same situation with extreme self-confidence. They're not worried about, if you are going in as someone who has abandonment worries, or is a real, you've taken on the role of a carer or a people pleaser, then these perceived threats are going to be activated very, very easily and quickly for you, because everything, you are going to be worried all the time about doing, saying, and being the right thing, because you are going to worry that if you don't, people are not going to like you, or they're going to abandon you. So again, there's a lot of things at play here. So your blueprint is going to have an awful lot to do with this. Okay, so that is how we create these fear. Now, the other thing, of course, that triggers this is, and this is what we see a lot, childhood abuse. From what I've told you, I'm sure if you've been watching from the beginning, if you can understand what I told you about the brain, how it works, and the nervous system and the fear system, imagine as a child in an abuse situation, okay? Can you imagine how overactivated your fear system is? And that is why, as adults, so many people are suffering from childhood trauma, and what it leads to is this extreme anxiety and panic. Because if you think about it, the fear system has been overactive for years. It has never had a chance to settle, because as a child, if you think about it, we rely on our homes and our parents for safety. We rely on them for our shelter, our food, our love, our nurturing, and our general well-being. But if you are in an abuse situation, what do you constantly have? You constantly have a place that is full of danger. There is no safe place. There is no time at all for your fear system to settle and to react in a normal way. And if this starts early in childhood, by the time you get to an adult, Obviously, your fear system has been overactive in every way. And this is why people will show up, they'll literally be shaking, or they'll say that they've got internal tremors. They can feel themselves shaking inside, or they'll say that they just feel unsafe. Even though they know they are safe within their homes, they feel unsafe. And it is because the fear system is reacting to the past. Okay, it doesn't react to the future. It has been overactive for so long that it is not focusing on the present. It is focusing on the past. And this is a big thing that we have to understand about anxiety, fear, and panic. They are normally focusing on the past. The only time this won't be true is if your current situation is unsafe. So if you are currently in an extremely abusive relationship, or if you are in a physically abusive relationship, then it's going to be, might have got activated in your past, but it's still in your present. So the work that I do is with people who are currently, so in your present, you are safe. Because you can see from what I already told you that when we've got that space of safety is when we can start to work to calm and reset the fear system and bring the whole process into the present, out of the past. Now, if your current is unsafe, if you are physically unsafe, obviously you have to remove yourself if you can. If you are emotionally unsafe, there are still things I can do, because if you are in a situation that is emotionally abusive, what I can do, I can actually teach you. Number one, I can work with you to totally change how you see and feel about yourself, so that this becomes completely unacceptable to you, so that you grow in self-confidence, self-belief, strength, and courage. But the other thing I can do, people who are emotionally abusive, if you saw my training on Friday, they're bullies and cowards. And when you start to stand up to them, they don't like it. I'm talking about emotional here. I don't want to get into if you're in a physically unsafe situation. But if you're in an emotionally abusive situation, there are many great tools and techniques that I can teach you that will turn this around for you. Okay, so that's made it clear, that this is about being safe, and what we're trying to do is to create safety. So we've explained how anxiety can be triggered, where it comes from, and it's really, that there are so many examples. I'm really just teaching you the basics so you can start to think about where yours comes from, what might be triggering it, why you can't get over it. And obviously that's a big piece of the work that I do with people who work with me. We very easily get to the root cause, see how it has left them feeling, why they feel like that, and then we set about changing it. And then we create the safety, and we deal with the anxiety and the panic. So let's have a look now. So that's everything explained. If I've missed anything, which I might have done, it's very complex. Obviously, there are things that I have in my head that I understand that I might not have told you. I apologize. Please leave your questions. But now, how do we heal? Okay, so let's just say we've got the system and it's out of balance. Okay, we've got the nervous system over here, and we've got the amygdala, and we've got the hippocampus over here, and they're all communicating, and the communication's all over the place because they're all out of balance. So how do we reset it? Okay, I cannot say enough. The big word is, there's two big words. So we need to create a sense of safety, and we need to let the whole system know that we are currently in the present, and that the danger is in the past. Oh, got a light on my board. It's being moved for me. There you go. All right, apparently it's good now. All good. All right. Okay, so a sense of safety. And amazingly, I'm going to talk a bit about why this annoys me so much, because I see so much information from people. I said a bit about this in the beginning, where they're just being given medication, and people are saying to me, oh, I don't, they're told that they can't overcome this. They're not given the very, very basic information that they need. And I talk to a lot of people who say, oh, I've had therapy, but it didn't work. Okay, so what I'm going to say is that anxiety, and you can see from the very simple stuff that I've told you, it's complex, it's specific. There are different reasons for it. Every client is in a different place and needs to be treated individually. But because of the way the system works, the biological system, the scientifically proven way the system works, therapy for anxiety is not straightforward. It's a bit like going to see your GP when you need brain surgery. And here's why so many people go for therapy for anxiety that doesn't work. The first thing we have to do, as I said to you, is create safety and to focus on the present. Okay, now, the other thing you should do is understand what you're dealing with. Because as a client who's being treated for anxiety and panic and fear, there are many, many exercises that you can do yourself alongside working with your therapist. If the basics that I've been through with you have not been explained to you, how can you do those exercises? You don't even know what you're doing or why. It's crazy. So what I find for therapy that has not worked, okay, put this over here, therapy that hasn't worked, it starts in the wrong place with the wrong thing. Too many people are going for general therapy instead of anxiety therapy. It's specialized, okay? There are many, many therapists and GPs even. That's why GPs don't tell you. GPs don't give you the information about all the stuff that I've just told you about how this works. Anxiety is very, very misunderstood. And so if you go for general therapy and a therapist starts to talk to you about how you feel, yes, of course, that's important. But this is where we really, really need to start. And I tell you why. Because when your system is out of balance, when your amygdala is overreactive, when it reacts to fear, your amygdala shuts down other systems because it wants all resources to go to your safety. Safety is the number one priority. So it shuts down other processes. And the process that it shuts down is the frontal cortex. It impairs or shuts down the frontal cortex. And the frontal cortex is where you do your learning. It's where you take in your new information. So if you are here, so if you are, let's say you are in the danger zone, okay, and your hippocampus is extremely active, okay, and your frontal cortex, which is going to take on new information, training and learning, is impaired, when your therapist starts to talk to you about how you feel and starts to feed you new information about what you can do about that, if they do that, you can't take it in because your hippocampus is constantly going danger, 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 and won't let you give resources to this. You are not. This is a later stage. You are not in the state or stage where you can do this. You need to start here. We have to start with creating. Right, let me write this down for you. Oh, that's my dog. There you are, he's alerting me to some danger. Someone walking past, I expect, some dangerous person. Oh, there we go. That's him. Okay, so we have to start here. There's a process. All right, number one, we start with creating a sense of safety and the present. Now, you might not be able to see the bottom of my board, but would you believe that the easiest way to do this is, I'm going to write it down up here for you. There is breathing. We are creating a sense of calm and peace. It comes with meditation. It comes with self-care, and it comes with supporting relationships. So this is all about creating support and safety. And as we do this, and you start to realize that what you were scared about, oh, my dog in the background, what you were scared about is irrelevant. Okay, it's a perception. It's not real. This is what we would do in therapy. Okay, and then we would do all of these things. And there's actually a book called The Body Keeps the Score, which is all about trauma. And the professor who wrote that book did a study where he took a whole group of people who were extremely traumatized, and for 8 weeks they didn't use medication, they didn't use anything. They just took them to a peaceful, calm environment, and they used breathing, meditation, support, and self-care. And at the end of the 8 weeks, they were all totally calm and trauma-free. Okay, these are the proven ways of doing this. Now, the problem, of course, is trying to do this in your life. If you're in a job that stresses you, or you have a role in your family, or things are going on that are stressful, it's kind of one step forward, half a step back. It's quite difficult. That's where the work that I do comes in, and I will tell you why it is so amazing. So the first thing we do is we create a sense of safety. And like, if you're trying to do this on your own, this is how you do it. If you work with a therapist who knows what they're doing and starts here, we do this in the first session. Okay, I do this in the first session. So I create this sense of safety and bring you into the present. Maybe it'll be the second or third session, but certainly that's what we try to do in the first session, because that's where we need to work. The second thing we need to do, if you remember what I told you about your blueprint, how it's left you feeling, we are going to uncover the root cause, and we are going to explore everything that it has left you feeling about yourself. Okay? Because it's how it's left you feeling about yourself that is causing the anxiety. If you felt totally in control, if you felt full of self-confidence, if you felt that you can be, do, and have anything, you're not going to have any anxiety. So the anxiety comes from feeling in some way not enough. Not enough to be able to cope with anything and everything that might happen to you. Because when you feel enough to cope with anything and everything that might happen to you, you're not going to have any anxiety and fear. Why would you? You know you're going to cope with it. Yes, you just look at it and go, okay, so that might happen, but If it does, I'll just deal with it. It doesn't matter. Okay, so someone might have a go at me, but okay, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's their problem, not mine. Do you see the difference there? So this is what we do. So we uncover the root cause and we explore. And here's what we do here. We rewire. We rewire and reprogram how you think and feel about yourself. Okay? The quickest way, there is a reason that I use hypnosis. I use hypnosis combined with traditional therapies of NLP, CBT, psychotherapy. There's a reason I use hypnosis. It is scientifically proven to be the fastest way to rewire and reprogram any thoughts you have about anyone, anything, any situation, and yourself, any thoughts that do not serve you. And the reason is they belong in the past. They are not who you are today. I can absolutely guarantee that what is running your life today, the thought processes that are causing your anxiety, your fear, your panics, are related to who you thought you were in the past. They are not who you are today. We upgrade, rewire, reprogram. It's a game changer. Absolute. This is amazing, amazing work. If you think about it, it's like upgrading your computer from Windows 7 to Windows 10. Okay, so a computer, we all know, so a computer that's running on old software, it's glitchy, it can't do certain things, it can't process certain information. Exactly the same. We are upgrading your mind when we do this work to the latest and best information that is available to you about your situation, about yourself, about other people, and we are going to fill you with absolutely unshakable and undeniable self-confidence so that you know beyond any doubt that you can be, do, and have anything you want in your life, and anything that comes up for you, you can deal with. That's what we aim to do with this. Now, there's the third step. It's the last one. So the third step is the rewiring and reprogramming that I told you about. We do it about the situation. Okay? So now, sometimes what I mean is sometimes people, when we're dealing with child abuse, we're talking about complex post-traumatic stress, where something was very sustained, it was prolonged, and the system just hasn't had a chance to recover. But of course, sometimes we can get post-traumatic stress, which is one event. Okay, and we tend to see this, let's say someone has been involved in a plane crash or a car crash or one very traumatic incident. It might be a death that has left them feeling overwhelmed, or sometimes a death in the family can change your place within that family, and suddenly you've got more responsibility, it's overwhelming, you don't know who you are anymore. Let's say this could maybe be a divorce, or just a sudden shock. And that is also going to have the same effect on the fear system. And we do exactly the same thing. But again, what we do, and this applies to anything, but I forgot that I hadn't mentioned the situation where it might just be one traumatic event. So we rewire and reprogram how you see that situation, especially when we might be talking about situations like rape. And what we need to do is for someone to feel safe again. We need to do this when people have agoraphobia. They've created safety in their homes and they've literally convinced themselves that everything outside of that is unsafe. And it's probably due to an event or a series of events that happened outside their home. So we rewire and reprogram how they see that event, and how it affects them, and how they see themselves able to cope with that and to be in that situation again. And that's basically anxiety and fear. That's a very long training. I hope there's a lot of information there. I hope you'll go back over it. I hope you'll ask me any questions. And I hope I've shown you that you can overcome this. You know, it's happened naturally. The system is designed this way. Yes, it gets out of balance, but it's possible, you know, and highly probable that we can overcome this, and it's just a process. And I cannot tell you the rapid transformations therapy that I use. My goodness, there is nothing like it for being able to show you what is going on in your subconscious that is running these thoughts that are hijacking your system, and being able to very quickly turn those around, and in turn just totally do a 180, a 360 on your anxiety and your fear. All right, so hopefully that has explained that to you. When I was talking about child abuse, I remembered I did another training recently, and you'll find it in my feed again. And it's called, I think it's called Your System Has Been Hijacked. And that one particularly focused on child abuse and how that creates this ongoing fear, and how the system doesn't get a chance to reset. But also it showed you how it affects your stages of development depending on what happens to you at different ages. So that's a really good one to watch as well. But in my feed you will find different things about anxiety, but I think this is the most thorough training that I've done, and this should give you everything you need to know. And if it doesn't, leave me your questions. And if I missed something, I'm sorry, there was such a lot. I would definitely answer your questions though. And thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. And I love being able to bring you this information. And I really hope that it has a positive impact on your life and your understanding and your management of your anxiety and your fear, no matter what it's related to. Okay? All right. Thank you so much. I'm going to go now and get something to drink so I can carry on talking. Okay, thank you so much. I'll speak to you again soon.